Hey guys, and welcome back to the Map to Million channel. In today's clip, I'm going to be running through 3 trading truths that I feel everybody should hear before starting out or continuing their trading journey. So if you've been doing the dance for a while, maybe not hitting full consistency, or maybe you're just starting out, hopefully this video will be relevant for you and put some things into perspective and manage some of your expectations. Now, I've always made the assumption on my channel that every person knows how difficult it is intrinsically to be a successful day trader. But equally, I do appreciate that I don't make mention to it very often on the channel, and this is what my first point is going to be, to provide some context on just how difficult it actually is. You are trying to be in the top 10%, not the 90%. And well, it's hard. Now, regardless of the fact that you could, in theory, develop this skill from the comfort of your own sofa sat in your pants, in reality, you are trying to break into the top percentage of successful people in one of the hardest industries on the entire planet. And I think a lot of people do discard this fact because it is just a well-known fact, and they don't actually sit there and consider actually how hard what it is they're trying to do actually is. And let's just stop for a second and put that in perspective. 9 out of 10 people will fail. 9 out of 10 people do fail. And to give this a little context, let's look at something similar that's as hard statistically to do. And if we take a look, we can see that the failure rate as reported in 2019 was 90% for all startup businesses. And I know for most people, the thought of creating their own company, actually going ahead and doing it, isn't something that they're looking to do, and in fact something that they look to avoid because of the risk, because of the time, because of the effort, and also because of the fact they're pretty sure in their heart of hearts that they're gonna fail because that's what they've been led to believe. And of course, not just led to believe, but actually seen. Trading is no different. It needs to be treated like a business. It is a business. But there's not the same amount of people going out every year trying to create a startup as there are retail day traders. And also, when people do go and create a startup, they sure as hell don't try and create a startup based on something they've never worked on or never been in previously. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule, but you get what I'm trying to say. A lot of retail traders seem to acknowledge that trading is tricky, but they never seem to be put off by it. They don't seem to fully consider the mountain that they've got to climb. And what happens is that once they're unable to climb that mountain, they turn around and start blaming everybody around them. I'm pretty sure if trading was running up really steep hills under a certain time, year on year, under a quarter of people wouldn't even bother doing it just due to the sheer effort and exertion that's required. Trading is no different from a commitment and discipline perspective. But it's far easier to sit there and watch videos and never really try to apply what you've learned. Or sitting back and reading thousands of messages in a group because you think that you're actually making progress because it's more mental rather than physical. My point of this analogy is that you can't become a great runner by watching people run on YouTube or reading running magazines. You can take the tips, the theory, and digest it in the best way that you know how. But it's the application, the consistency, the discipline, the physical practice that actually gets you there. Of course, I know you can't compare running and trading on all levels. I'm just using it as the point of the analogy to get across the key points. Physically practicing doesn't necessarily mean sweating like a pig. It's the process of actually doing something, applying something, rather than just sitting there thinking about what you've learned without application. But do always bear in mind that to be in the 90th plus percentile of something in the entire world is beyond tricky. And thinking anybody can do it is just a fool's mentality. But also remember that the 10% are most likely doing what the 90% aren't willing or don't want to do on a consistent basis. I'm not saying don't bother, I'm just saying be aware of actually what you're trying to achieve and what you're getting yourself into here. And are you the sort of person that with anything you do, you're trying to strive to be in that top 10%? Or are you someone where you do what needs to be done, but anything for an easy life? If you're not usually that 10% person, then you really need to consider what, why, and how this would be made any different. Moving to the second point, or points as I've bundled a load together. You will doubt yourself every step of the way and fail every step of the way. You will need to lose in order to win. And nobody will believe in what you are doing when you set out. You know, you will doubt yourself, especially in the early to mid stages every single day. And nobody will be behind what you're doing because, let's be honest, it is a bit outrageous when you think about it. But in your own head, you do just have to remember that whole 90-10% thing. Generally speaking, the 90% don't believe they can be in the 10%. They have it almost as this fictional group where it's reserved for certain people that just aren't them. And the thing is, once that's in their mind, that mindset is really power in numbers. So in short, you stand about a 90% plus chance of somebody not believing in what you're doing or not believing that you can succeed doing it, slash think that you've lost your marbles. So don't bother wasting your time and energy trying to convince anyone of what you're trying to do in principle. Make it your goal to just work hard and show them the results once you've honed in your craft over a couple of years where you've got the successes. Too much talk can get you into a whole world of issues even before you get started. I mean, it's somewhat of a paradox, isn't it? That since the dawn of this generation and the generation that's come before it and the one before that, everyone says that traders are rich and that as if it comes so easy to them and that they just cash in every day for very little effort. But when you turn around and say you're going to become a trader, the immediate reaction is,
oh, why would you do that? You don't want to do that. You're going to lose money doing that. You can't make any money in trading.
And to be honest, I don't disagree with that knee-jerk reaction, but the point is if you worry yourself so much about trying to convince people otherwise, you completely sap out your energy that is going to be required to actually try and make a success of it. So in short, just forget broadcasting your intent to everybody, looking for that pat on the back or words of encouragement. The reality is either no one will care, they'll be rooting for you to fail, or they'll think that you're just completely diabolically stupid for even trying to do this in the first place. So as one of the old cheesy cliches goes, but it is one that I've lived my life by, is just work hard in silence and let success be your noise. And just on the other sub point there, you will need to lose in order to win. Unequivocally. Let that sink in. Don't just disregard it as another cliche, stereotypical piece of advice for an upcoming trader. Actually realise what that means. This is just part of the game. And some people are really, really good when everything's going in their way and everything's on an upward trajectory. But the moment they face any piece of adversity, the moment they take a small loss, whether they start the month with a loss or start the week with a loss, they suddenly abandon all logic and start going into a meltdown. So if you take a deep look at yourself and you are someone that really struggles with adversity, this journey is going to be an even bigger challenge than for most. And if you are a perfectionist of the outcome rather than the process, this could end up being a huge hurdle for you too. You have to accept that this is a game of letting your edge play out, and you have to be comfortable with what that means. And people think it's easy when people like me are saying that that's the case or they see it written on paper, but when you're living it day in, day out, and you're in the middle of losing streaks with real money, believe me, it's a completely different beast. So for me, you just need to be aware of this and don't trivialize it. Now, of course, the marketing on most companies out there is really just showing how easy it is. You know, just follow these rules and you'll be fine. And with every educator, guess what? 90% of people still don't succeed. They cancel their subscription after a few months, or they leave half a course of videos unwatched. Now, there are great courses out there, but just don't be so deluded as to think it's as simple as ABC. And if you do think it is, or you are bought into that, then just don't bother starting. At the end of the day, this is just marketing, and I respect that. But all I'm saying is be smart enough to see through the guise and accept that the simplicity of anything is oversold and always relative. And just remember what we were discussing before. You stand a considerably higher chance of failing than you do succeeding. So just be smart and look at the course and the creator before you make your decision. Because if they're good enough, which a lot are, it's on you to be in the 10%, not anybody else. Accept as well that you may not be able to do it. Don't start blaming others or everybody around you for the reason why you can't. But as we know as a general rule, the top 10% of results come from the top 10% of the discipline, the consistency and the work ethic. And for the third truth, this is something that I feel has got lost in translation with the latest editions of the prop world and also a generational expectation for quick and easy results. There is no end. So much of the industry now has become people who have never or barely traded trying to pass these funded challenges or just waiting for their this is it moment to just hit them, or thinking that they've finally done it. It just isn't the case. There is no real end, and this is the problem when you don't trade your very own live account. With people who are chasing challenges from the outset, it gives them closure at every single step, as if you've made a big achievement whenever you complete one part. And while this is true, it's a massive achievement to achieve funding and to be able to get onto those larger scale capital accounts. The reality is the way in which you got there and the fact that it's on this kind of monthly reset model, it really detracts with your mind and psychology for the bigger picture. By resetting your balance every month, it kind of lends itself to more of an arcade or game style methodology rather than it feeling more like an overarching income or occupation. Lately, lots of people seem to be focused on impressing people in the very short time frames, getting a huge month, getting a huge week, getting a huge day, getting a huge trade, and the actual bigger picture mentality seems to have completely evaded them. There seems to be this mentality that there's this top of a mountain where once you eventually get there, that's it, you're all going to be all right and that your work here is done. There isn't. At the end of the day, it's an income. And most people in their working life get used to an income, and therefore they live to their means each month that goes by. So it's always going to be required, no matter how nice of a life you're living. Now, of course, living beneath your means is a different conversation. That's something I do want to cover a lot more in terms of my broader finance videos, but you do get the point in terms of what I'm trying to portray here. And there's a huge point that people never seem to cast light over, is the fact that when you achieve a milestone within trading, I can almost guarantee you that you've got another one already lined up to the point where your eyes are set for the next thing. So when you're going through this emotional roller coaster every day, every week, every trade, every month to try and max out as if it's going to be the last paycheck ever, it just isn't sustainable and probably end up doing you an injustice in the long run. So many have this mentality of, once I get this and that, I'll be X, Y, and Z. It just isn't how it works. The goalposts change, your life changes, your expectations change, the market changes. I'm still yet to meet somebody who just hits a figure and then completely disappears and is off into the sunset. So stop thinking of single figure terms or single period terms, because you'll end up being bitterly disappointed and putting too much pressure on yourself in the short term. And you often hear these people coming in as a side hustle or coming in for a quick win. We all know not only is that stupid, but it's just plain deluded. So if you're thinking it's just something you're going to come into, learn, scale up real quick, dedicate a couple of hours a week and then duck out once you hit your financial goals clean as a whistle, just don't bother. That is a passive and back-footed mentality that's driven by ego and warped expectations. Either way, this video was just me picking up on a few key truths that I felt were worth vocalizing for people that are within this trading space. Trading is hard, and hopefully this video has actually been the explanation that I've never really put in my other videos of why trading is so hard. But I made this channel and make these videos to hopefully try and inspire some of those grafters out there that have got the right work ethic, that can bring in the discipline, that can bring in the consistency, and can genuinely hopefully make a real success of trying to be a day trader. But at the end of the day, it's not just my point of view. What do you think? Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm way off piste? Let me know in the comment section below. I love hearing from you every week whenever I post those videos, so don't be shy in the comment section underneath. And if you found this video useful, mildly entertaining, or just an okay way to spend the last 10 minutes, then please show me some love on that like and subscribe button. It does make me feel warm inside. But if I don't hear from you before, it's been a pleasure as always, and I'll catch you on the next video. Take it easy.